Good morning, you guys. I always say that TVC has a finger on the pulse, and if it's trending, I am definitely going to be talking about it on here. I like to start this segment off with some good news. In our first story, in a major crackdown, NAFDAC has uncovered large quantities of counterfeit and banned drugs that were hidden inside plumbing shops and non-drug sections at the Onitsha Bridgehead Drug Market in Anambra State.
They have drugs in the plumbing section. Our forces, our police went with our staff. They overwhelmed us. We narrowly escaped from being killed. These trucks that you have seen here are trucks that were caught by security forces in the night, trying to take drugs away from Idumota, where we have our operation. So these trucks are seized. We are not destroying trade. We are protecting lives. And our own enforcement met with the market leaders that this is what we are doing.
Now, over the past week, officials have seized at least 10 fully loaded 40-foot trucks that were filled with fake and substandard medicines. Some were even falsely labeled with NAFDAC's approval. Now, these illicit drugs are said to be worth billions and billions of naira, and many of them were being repackaged and revalidated under false claims before being sold to unsuspecting consumers. Can you imagine? Now, the agency thankfully has vowed to continue its operation to rid the market of dangerous drugs that are endangering public health. Now, the governor of Anambra State, Charles Soludo, did visit the Onitsha market, and he did say that he's trying to expedite the searching process so that traders could resume their activities within the next 10 days, because this does expedite trading. And some of the drugs that were actually found were actually medicine that was donated by USAID. And the question remains, how did that medicine donated by USAID land in the hands of fake drug peddlers and adulterers? We're going to take some tweets now. Vintage says, this is what we've been talking about. Some bigger fish sold these drugs to them. Uproot the bad tree and stop trimming its branches if you truly want to do it right. Ken Musa says, how were they imported into the country? Customs are compromised. Very important question. And Idris says, this is why there are so many health problems around today. Those who commit these crimes against humanity are evil and should be treated as the evil that they are. Can you imagine being ill, buying medicine, treating yourself, and nothing is happening because someone somewhere in the market has adulterated this medicine? Absolutely terrifying. In our next story, a video capturing a heated exchange between a Mercedes-Benz owner and a police officer during a routine stop and search in Lagos has ignited widespread debate on the legality and the limits of such operations in Nigeria. But what do you think? Let's take a look at this exchange. Pressing questions about the legality of stop and search. And some of these questions are, what should a lawful stop and search entail? What does it look like when police stop you? And how should you proceed in a legal manner? I'm going to take some social media tweets right now concerning this. Mequin says, he has a right to ask to see the other license. You shouldn't be in possession of multiple licenses without explanation. It's like being in possession of multiple debit cards or SIM cards. Because we couldn't play the video, what essentially transpired in the video was that the police officer stopped this man and he asked him for, there was another driver's license belonging to another person in his car. And the police officer said to him, whose driver's license is this? And the man said, I don't have to tell you whose driver's license this is. And that is what this exchange is all about. Another user says, the officer's position is actually not out of place. The officer has spotted another license and is duty bound to ask you whose it is. The Sultan of Abuja says, denying the officer access to information on ID different from yours in your car is an offense. Don't even try to argue next time. Calling a uniformed personnel Mr. Man is also an offense. That happened in the video. He said Mr. Man. Now, why them say anything you say might be used against you? This one has evidence. You no try. I mean, if I was stopped and they asked me whose driver's license is this if it wasn't mine? I would answer. Another user says, I would love to see what would happen if they pull over a driverless car. No driver to demand particulars from. With Tesla on the rise in Nigeria, that might be a possibility soon. But the Police Act of 2020, Section 50, actually grants officers the right to stop, search, and detain people if they have reasonable suspicion of a crime. But the same act also grants citizens the right to refuse a search if they're not provided with a legal reason or a warrant. So this is a double-edged sword. Veronica and Ibrahim, what do you do? What entails a stop and search? And what do you do when you're stopped and searched? You ever ask questions or you just do the right thing?
Absolutely, just like you said. But then if you look at the Police Act of 2020, Section 29 speaks to it. Section 49 subsection 2 also speaks to it. And they talk about the police having the right to stop and search, especially when there is established reasonable suspicion. And then the officer must definitely show his identification, which is your right to ask for the identification. And remember, it is reasonable suspicion, not just out of his own volition. And then you also have the right to comply. But when you realize that there is misconduct, there is injustice, then you have the right to go to court. So these are your rights. So it's better that we understand these things rather than, attaching sentiments and all of that. But how do we have, we're talking about NAFDAC, how do we have people who are trying to make us, ensure that we are safe, that we use the right thing when it comes to taking drugs for our ailments or taking right drinks or other things, talking about NAFDAC? Why do we have to attack them? If we know that we are not concealing or hiding any contraband, anything that is against the law of this land, we should allow these people to do their job. Why do we have to attack them? So I think they need to, come down heavy on these people that are trying to kill us in this country.
And I'll weigh in on NAFDAC. I think that NAFDAC is doing a lot. It reminds me of Dora Akunyili and the efforts she made while she was alive, and in the process lost her life as a result of all of the issues around
trying to stop Patrick Sawyer.
Her effort to address these matters. It shows man's inhumanity to man. It also goes to show that this is not a government issue, it's an individual issue. How do you, with all your intentions, choose to kill people? You don't have to hold a gun, but you're already killing people with this kind of fake medication. There's no difference between you and an armed robber. There's no difference between
hired assassin
and an assassin. So that is what you're doing right now. It's unfortunate.
Absolutely. It is so terrible. I always say, stay safe out there, you guys. Ms. Dora Akunyili left some very big shoes to fill, and it's good to see that NAFDAC is still trying to fill those shoes and doing the needful. In our next story, unfortunately, controversy is trailing the legacy of late Access Holdings CEO Herbert Wigwe, following allegations from his sister Joyce Wigwe. Now, in a viral video, Joyce has accused unnamed individuals suspected to be Herbert's children and friends of betraying, mistreating, and disrespecting their parents and siblings following her brother's passing. Take a look at this.
See what our enemies have done. People we thought were Herbert's friends, people we thought were Herbert's brothers, they have actually really, really let the family down. Daddy and mommy trusted in them implicitly, and we've come to see that they were not what we thought they were. And so because of it, Daddy actually fell ill. We almost lost him. Mommy broke down because of the trust they had reposed so much in them. So it's made the journey really, really difficult and heart-wrenching for them, because these were people Herbert drew really close to and brought home as his friends. So that's the journey we've been on. It's been difficult. And if you've watched over time and watched me there, you heard yesterday, they came here to the village with no due respect to the family. They didn't even as much as come to see the family. They wouldn't even let us into the gates.
The internal dynamics of the Wigwe family and the ongoing handling of the late billionaire's estate still remain unclear. But this video adds another layer to the growing tension that's surrounding Herbert Wigwe's legacy. Let's take a look at social media. Mr. Chair says, nah. The girl will get married, the wealth will move with her. I think that's what they're fighting. And Philomath says, imagine if Herbert's wife and son were not in the helicopter. They would have started running DNA tests. Historically, in Igbo land, the Umuna would stop a female child from inheriting her father or her parents' money because they believed that she would marry into a different household. But with the landmark case in 2014 of Ukeje versus Ukeje, it changed customary rights for females in Igbo land as we know it. And Herbert was a visionary. I believe that if he could see the future of Access Bank Holdings, if he could see the future, then he could probably see the future of his own family unit. Veronica and Ibrahim, I'd love you to weigh in on this very quickly.
I think that this is a family issue, and I do not want to weigh in on it. It's sad that this development is happening. Perhaps I can only hope for the best for the family.
Absolutely, especially what they're fighting on. The owner is no longer alive. So whatever estate, whatever wealth, whatever it is, let's remember that we are not taking this, with us whenever we are out of this world. So
unfortunately, we have to wrap things up here now. So thank you, Olamide, for bringing us this story.
Thank you, guys.